Hello everyone, and welcome to the April video edition of The Author's Pen. A couple of brief announcements before we get started. Next week we're going to have another guest blog post by Gwen Payne, a very interesting and informative topic about 5 innovative ways to assist loved ones with long-distance care. It's a great article, and I hope you all sign on to read it. Secondly, as you all know and have seen, we've had a lot of new guest blog posts, authors on the site, and I do promote that. I do believe in helping others and giving other writers a platform to post their articles. So my email address is on the bottom. If you would like to do a guest blog post, please do it in Word format. Submit it to me directly to my email below. I'll be happy to review it and get it in the order to get it posted. So with that said, let's talk about tonight's topic, follow this. Well, what do I mean by follow this? Well, it's pretty simple. For the past 3 or 4 years, all we hear is follow the science, follow the facts, follow the money, depending on what investigations are going on. And our life is spent following everything. The big question when it comes to following something is, what are we following? And do we know for a fact that the information we're provided is factually true? Now, news medias have a great talent, and one of that great talents is fact-checking. They have archives of speeches, presentations that go back decades. So they could go back and fact check what someone says, compare it to what they said 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And does that have some merit? Sure. But, at the same token, do people have a right to change their mind? Do you think the same way about something today that you did 10 years ago? Or maybe you changed your mind or your opinion about it? We certainly do that. That's our right. So, do I take a lot of stock in what someone said 10 years ago versus what they say today? No, because people have, as I stated, a right to change their mind. But the bigger question is, what are the facts? What are we being told? How do we know it's the truth? The one thing about law enforcement that most people don't understand is they're probably one of the most honest, upfront agencies that are out there. Because if there's an ongoing investigation, they tell you straight out up front that they are not going to discuss the facts of that investigation or where they're at in that investigation because it could impede that investigation. So right up front that transparency is limited to what they want you to know. So now you're an informed listener. You know that going into the game. But when it comes to other things, let's talk about follow the science. My God, the pandemic's an excellent example. We went from 1 mask to 2 masks to 3 masks to no masks. What works? What doesn't work? What antibiotics are good? What ones aren't? Well, we have to be fair to science a little bit too. Because when it comes to science and research, that changes as we learn more things. So when it comes to following the science, that could change along the way, because when we first learn about something and we begin to research it, we have a certain amount of information that we have found. And then as that information changes, then obviously following the science will change. So, I will give them that to a certain degree. It's the politics and the underlining issues that are underneath follow the science are the things that concern us. So no matter what we're following, it all boils down and comes back to following the facts. So when we talk about following the facts, let's be honest. The vast majority a large percentage of the American public doesn't trust the news media, and rightfully so. You could turn on any news media station and you could see their bias, you could see what they favor, you could see who they favor, what political platform they tend to lean towards, whether it's to the left, to the right. Whatever happened to good journalism? Whatever happened to good, unbiased, fair, equal reporting? That kind of like went out with spats. All right. So how can we follow the facts when we don't know if the facts we're being presented are A, true, B, complete, and C, fair? Now, we have to give some leeway to the news media because a lot of the facts that they present to us are facts that are presented to them. So that takes it back on the scale one step further, and that's the people that are supplying them with the facts. Is the news media given all the facts? Now, I don't happen to believe that the news media should try and sway our opinion. They should report the facts as they know them and allow us to form our own opinions. Now, that's my opinion on that subject. You may feel differently. So for that reason, I watch various news media stations because I want to hear both sides of the story. Because like with arguments, you listen to one side, they sound right. You listen to the other side, they sound right. But you know what? Somewhere in the middle is really where the truth lies. Let's talk about the government and the facts that the government presents us with. Come on, we had a Chinese balloon come across the whole United States before we shot it down. Problem number one. Were we given the facts on that? Absolutely not. Now, with all due respect to the military, and I understand this, and I happen to agree with it, there are certain things under the auspices of national security that we're not going to be told. And I understand that. But subsequently, 3 more additional objects, unidentified objects, were shot down, and we're told we have no idea what those objects are. Now, listen, that's a crock of crap as far as I'm concerned. You don't shoot something out of the sky and you don't know what it was. So where's the transparency in that? There is none. Okay? We have Ukraine. We have China. We have Russia. We have a president that tells us there's no threat. And now recently we have the rebels of Iran shooting missiles at our military bases in Syria. And yes, we responded to that. They fired more. What is this telling us? Okay, we have Russia that sprayed jet fuel over one of our drones, ran into the drone, caused it to crash. And you expect me to believe for 1 minute that a pilot that is trained to fly a fighter jet is that incompetent that he mistakenly dumped fuel on a drone and mistakenly bumped into it? Come on. Do I look like I was born yesterday? Do the American people look like they were born yesterday? We are being tested as a nation. And our president, in a speech a couple of weeks ago, seems to think that this is all fine and there are no major issues that we need to be concerned about. Is that factual? Do the facts that we know that are reported on the news bear out that explanation? Not even close. So therefore, why does our government feel that its citizens don't trust them? I think the answer to that question is purely obvious. All right? We are being tested as a nation, as a country, as an administration, to see how far we could be pushed. Now, we have had presidents in the past, Ronald Reagan, John F. Kennedy, just to name a couple, and President Trump for that matter, that when faced with these tests, we responded strongly, quickly, and decisively. We made it perfectly clear that you were not going to infringe on America, its people, its property, and its sovereignty. We're not sending that message anymore. So the world, yes, as a fact, is in a very volatile state right now. Do I think we're in a nuclear war state? Absolutely not. As crazy as maybe some leaders are, I find it very hard-pressed to believe that any leader is going to do anything on a nuclear level when they know the response is going to be swift, decisive, and equal, and cause destruction to their own country. It's anti-productive. It makes absolutely no sense. I agree wholeheartedly that conflicts in the future are going to be more cyber, more internet related. And yes, we're going to have some on the ground skirmishes, but I don't see a nuclear war coming. I'm sorry. A lot of that is hype. But are we fixing it? And with all these unknowns and with all these variables, they want us to follow the facts. Well, you can't follow the facts when you don't trust what you're being told, when you don't trust what the facts are, and you don't trust the people that are reporting it. Puts us in a very precarious position as citizens of this great nation. Then we come to issues of follow the money. Well, that's probably the most accurate thing you can do with the investigations or the ongoing investigations, I should say, of allegations with the Biden family, with Trump, so on and so forth. Follow the money. Well, follow the money is a lot easier sometimes than following the facts. But money could be hidden, money could be washed, it could be laundered, it could go through shell companies, and sometimes following the money isn't always that easy either. So we're in this follow this type of environment right now when we don't know what to follow and we don't know if we could trust what we're told to follow. So how do you feel about that? How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel confident? Does it make you feel confident in your government? Does it make you feel confident in your leaders? Does it make you feel confident in the news media networks that report these facts to you? Like sound bites, for example. Sound bites are great. We get little bits and pieces of a speech for what the news network wants us to hear. And it's funny, like I said, I watch various news networks, and each one shows different sound bites. Whatever sound bite is going to fit their particular narrative or the way they are leaning. But unless you heard the whole speech, you don't know if that person who said those things corrected it, explained it further. You don't have this information. So the facts are skewed. The facts are manipulated. And that's why the topic of tonight's blog post is, follow this? Are you kidding me? You want me to follow something that I can't trust? So trust is a pretty major issue here. So don't you think the first step that news media, the government, various agencies should be doing is trying to gain our trust? These are things that affect the lives of every single one of us. Not just the rich, not just the poor, not just the middle class. It affects every single one of us. And the worst part about it is we have no say about it. We have no say whatsoever. The only time we have a say is when it comes to voting and what leaders we're going to put in what positions. And that's going to determine whether we believe what they say to us during their campaigns. All right? Some leaders have a history. We can see what they did in their states. We can see what they did in other forms of government. And we can kind of get an idea which way they're going to go. I listen to people complain about the price of gas, the price of this, the price of that, inflation, so on and so forth. I hear people complain about President Biden all the time. We all do. Not just because I live in the state of Florida, but because people are complaining because they're living in a severe state of hardship. The stock market is volatile. Better than half of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. But why are you complaining? I don't hold that against President Biden. You know why? Because everything he is doing is exactly what he said he was going to do in his campaign. And you still voted for him. So now that he's doing it, how could you complain about it? You voted for him. You basically said to him, yeah, we're all for what you want to do. So whose fault is that? At some point in time, the American people have to take some responsibility for the decisions they made. I argue with my sister as much as I love her all the time. She wasn't a Trump fan, doesn't like the man, has no use for him. But you know what? When you're voting for an elected official, and I've said this many, many times, you don't sleep with them, you don't eat with them, you don't have dinner with them, you don't wake up in the morning with them, you don't break bread with them. It's not a social issue. You're voting for someone based on their performance and their promises, their past performance, and what they say their future performance is going to be. And when you vote for that individual, you're telling that individual that you're accepting what they said they were going to do. So put on your big boy pants and stop complaining. When the time comes in 2024, if you want to change, make a change. But make an educated change. Part of following the facts is on you to some degree, to do a little bit of research. People don't do a lot of research today anymore, and they have the greatest tool available to them, the internet. When I was growing up, there was no internet. You had no choice but to take people's word for it. But you could research people. You could research information. Now, I know life is difficult and a lot of people don't have time to do that, and that's okay. But be informed. Take some responsibility for the decisions you make before you just follow the facts, follow the money, follow the science. Maybe I'm a little more fortunate than most because my whole adult life, basically after I owned my own business for 17 years, was in the medical field. So when COVID-19 came out, I was able to understand that information and read a lot of the research on it and understand it. Not like a doctor did, because I was only a paramedic, but I had enough knowledge to understand it. So that kind of gives me a little edge over the person that doesn't have any knowledge about that at all. But you could read, you could educate yourself to the point where you can make an informed decision for yourself. So when everybody says, follow this, follow the facts, follow the science, follow the money, you know what? Follow what you believe. Follow what you believe to be true. Don't just take one person's word for something. Listen to various different opinions and then determine for yourself what you think the facts are. But when all is said and done at the end of the day, before I close out this session this month, remember something. The facts are only what people or an agency, the government, the news media, whatever, wants us to know. So we're not always getting the complete story. Determine who you're going to trust. Go with your gut and follow that. That's the take-home message for tonight's video blog post. So with that, I hope I gave you a little bit of insight, maybe gave you something to think about. Like I said, I enjoy doing these little once a month video sessions. It kind of gives us a little opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better. So comments are appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Send me your opinions. My email address again is on the bottom of the screen. I like to hear your thoughts. I like to hear what you have to say. This is what I do. I listen. And once again, if you have a topic that you want to send in for a blog post, write it up in Word format, email it directly to me. I'll review it and get back to you. And we'll get it on the program. So with that, I wish you all be safe, stay healthy, be well. And remember the 3 things that I believe in. Live with an open mind, live with an open heart, and live your best life. God bless, and God bless America. Thank you.